This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
Hey, we're changing gear, we're changing tack. I told you guys that we'll be just looking into this issue this morning. Concerns also just raised around really what has been happening here in terms of the scourge of teenage pregnancy here at home, right? So this morning we're going to be putting that under the spotlight, and this is where we know very well, and we've seen that really when you look at it, it's been going on unabated in the country, where it's even prevalent in high schools. So the schools have opened their doors as we speak right now to young ones for the new semester and the new term. And we thought that we should just, as we start the new term, just look into this issue and try to come through with solutions with our guest this morning, the chairman of organization Dads in the Picture, this being Zibuse Kunene. You're at home. You're welcome to also form part of this conversation as we look forward to just doing it until the hour 3 o'clock with you this morning. And apologies about that. But Zibuse Kunene, our guest, is on standby right now. We are under the hashtag PowerZone there on Twitter, which is why we're hearing even things happening in the background, because I want to check your tweets here. But thank you to everyone that is liking our tweets, retweeting, and those that are saying that they're listening to us from all walks of life this morning. Zibuse, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Dedicatler. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm very well, man. Can't complain.
This issue, and someone would say that these are two gentlemen that are tackling an issue here that is so much of a concern, but we are dads, right? And we would like to intervene as much as we can here, just putting under the spotlight this morning this scourge and the prevalence of a teenage pregnancy. What is your understanding of really what is happening here? Because we've seen even concerns raised around the schooling environment of a number of young ones that are getting pregnant.
Yeah, it's quite sad that when you look at the statistics, they are increasing instead of decreasing.
Mm.
And what is also said with that is that we are seeing more and more fathers taking a positive and active role in raising their children. But then everything starts in the home. How are both boys and girls supported in the home? How are they being raised in the home? Because that would inform us a lot in terms of what is actually happening. And I had a quick look in terms of the statistics on teenage pregnancy. If you look at the developing countries, the statistics have been decreasing, and then in the African countries, they've been increasing, which is quite strange, because I'll tell you why. If you look at, for example, the culture that we have adopted as South Africans, it's more mirroring the U.S. culture. You know, we're saying we are more liberal, the way we want to do things, the way we want to parent, and yet their statistics have been decreasing while ours has been increasing. So then that tells you that we need an African solution to the problem that we're facing. And here's the African solution. The African solution is that we need to embrace the values of Ubuntu. We need to embrace the values of a child being raised by a village. Now, what will that do? In a home where there is a girl child and there is no father there, another father close by can take responsibility for raising that girl child and instilling positive values in that girl child, and also encouraging them to have something that they want to look forward to have goals and ambitions, things that they really want to do, maybe participate in sports and have goals for their lives. Because when you have something that you are passionate about, you are focused on that and you don't want a distraction. And then we also take the boy child and make him aware as well that he needs to keep his mind busy with other things. I'm not saying that also, Daddy. It's easy to say all of these things now when you and I, are grown up and we're no longer teenagers. But we know that at some point we were teenagers and our hormones were raging wild. But some of us, when our hormones were raging wild, we didn't have other activities to keep us busy, to distract us from that. So if we have things that distract us from, engaging in risky sexual behavior, then our minds become focused on that, and we have goals that we want to achieve. So what do our teenagers now have to focus on? And then we turn the attention, we come back. These teenagers, especially the teenage girls, don't just get pregnant by themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not always their peers who impregnate them.
It's the elders.
It's often the older men.
Yeah.
And then we say, what is actually wrong with the psyche of the older men to think that the teenager is actually their playing ground? And once they get them pregnant, they disappear from the picture. So how are we holding them accountable?
That is true. I mean, there's a lot that can be said around how the young ones find themselves where they are, right? I mean, you're right to say that we need to rope in the boy child because these young girls then don't really tend to impregnate themselves. There's a boy that tends to be in the picture, and the older men those that really, you'd often see families sweeping some of these things under the carpet when there is a malume that is involved here until, a point whereby, the child is feeling so frustrated and they feel like they're alone here because we need to not shy away from the fact that often some of these pregnancies are as a result of rape.
Yes, that's another truth that we need to face, that there's something definitely wrong with us as men, including young boys, when we engage in those behaviors, but also it's the issue of accountability. And unfortunately, some things are more complex than we think. So we may look at rape as just a symptom, but there are other underlying issues beyond rape, especially from the perpetrator perspective. What would actually cause someone to think and consider rape? What are the factors that contributed to them thinking that rape is actually the way to go for whatever it is that they want to do, or for whatever it is that they need an outlet for? And let's not even get to the point where we are blaming the women, because we can't even put any blame on them for the rape. Although what we can say is, I wonder what would happen if we were to look at the cases of rape that are reported and try to dig in deeper to the authentic, genuine rape cases. And then there are also false rape cases or made up rape cases. So you find that maybe a teenage girl went out and slept or seduced an older man, and then now she's pregnant and she's then being coerced into opening a rape case, right?
Yeah.
So if we drill down into the rape issue, there are other underlying things that we will discover there. But for the purposes of this conversation, let's then focus on the real rape cases, where really it was not even the woman's fault. No, I put that wrong. It was not the woman's, the woman did not have anything to do with it, and she was genuinely raped, right? what caused that person? What is wrong with the male psyche for him to believe that rape is okay, for him to conceptualize rape as something that they can actually do to someone else? How has that person been raised? What are the psychological issues that they are facing that they're not dealing with, that we as a society then need to look into? But also, how are they held accountable for that? Because some of them are not even held accountable. They know that they can easily buy a case, or that they can easily bribe a police officer, and then the case is gone. How do we get to bring dignity to the woman who has been raped when she has now reported the matter? How do we as society play a role there? How do men come out in support of the woman who has been raped and protect her? And I'm saying men specifically, because she has been raped by men. And it's the very same men who now need to help her deal with it, because if we stand by or if we stand back, she's going to have a certain perception and an outlook about men. And therefore, if other men stand up and say, we condemn this with the strongest possible terms, we condemn this. This is not how men are. This is not what men should be doing. Men should be doing better than this, and hold the other one accountable for his actions.
And also, Daddy, when you look at it, one can say that, drawing back to your initial point, to say that we need to embrace the spirit of Ubuntu and understand that it takes really a village to raise a child. Often, this has not been the case in the past years. But now, we've seen concerns around how you can't even discipline your neighbor's child, because then they will tell you where to get off. You're not my parent, so Zenagai, when in terms of what I do here, we are seeing young boys and girls holding hands now, parading the streets, kissing in corners. There's no longer that whole secrecy of mjolo. You know what I mean? Where very well that, hey, as young people, we may have to make sure that we meet the curfew. We have to make sure that we don't do these things before the eyes of our neighbors. Or when I see a car, passing through, I have to hide my face and the likes, things like that, just to show that there's that element of respect for the elders and really the village, because it takes a village to raise a child. Somewhere, somehow, we tend to lose this as we go into this whole new Gen Z and this new generation.
Yeah, no, definitely we tend to lose it. Especially when we don't pass down the values from one generation to the other. And before we even blame this current generation, we need to look into what have we as fathers and mothers been passing down to them, because there were things that were passed down to us. The respecting an elder, simple thing. Not publicizing umjolo when you're very young, and learning the importance of self-respect. Has that been passed down to them for them to understand what all of that actually means? And another thing that we see is this environment of saying sex sells. The more it's pushed out there via social media, via billboards. Sometimes when you look at certain adverts and you see a woman being paraded next to a car, how is that? How is a car and a naked or semi-naked woman really connecting when you really look at it? Except for the fact that as a man, if you get this car, it then says that you can have this type of girl. or this type of woman,
Yeah.
or you can have a woman if you have a car. You know, what are we teaching? What are we passing down to our children, to the generations that come after us?
Mm-hmm. And also then because this was also a concern raised by the schools, to say that there are a lot of young ones that are pregnant and the likes. Can we say that there's something, that an opportunity here in the curriculum, in the education system, whereby we can just in any way ensure that we instill this fear of young ones engaging in sexual activities while they're young? You know what I mean? I would like to saying that hormones are raging and the likes. You're an adolescent and you want to explore, you are touching yourself in certain areas and feeling certain things, and you want to explore and grow into this, but then also there's a responsibility here where the education sector is concerned to try by all means to school and ensure that these particular young ones in class that we're not teaching people that are pregnant when we have an opportunity as a school here, as elders, to guide them into understanding the implications of falling pregnant while you're still young.
Yeah, the implications are very important, and also not to make the girl feel like she is the only one in this, because when we do that, she then is held back from progressing with her studies, with her education. So they need to understand at the schooling level that really make sure that what are the implications of having sex when you're still young. What are the benefits of actually being celibate and staying and keeping yourself a virgin until the right time? There is I love it when I see either women or males, are showing themselves as virgins on social media and having others supporting and encouraging that, because then we need to make that a trend, so that our young girls and boys are okay with being virgins. They are okay with not participating in it, and that they are okay in focusing on other things except this hypersexualization of everything.
You're right, and I guess we'll get it right eventually, and this trend clamped down, because when you look at it, the economy as well, you can't afford to go as a young person into this adulthood with already just a young one by your side, looking at the fact that the economy has not been structured in any way, just off late, in a way that it can accommodate all of that, looking at the socio-economic challenges that exist on the day, meaning that it needs to be all hands on deck in ensuring that we guide the young ones here. But I like what you said here around just going back to basics, embracing the spirit of Ubuntu, passing down all of these values as parents to the young ones, ensuring that at least we go back to those issues of it takes a village to raise a child, and these children as well, they realize the implications of going into sexual activities while still young. Looking at the fact that there's still a future that lies ahead. Often, you hear elders saying that sex, it will still be there even when you are like in your 40s, in your 30s, and the likes. Maybe as a young person right now, focus on just being a child, be schooled as much as you can, focus on your studies, and just ensure that you create and craft a name and a future for your family and yourselves without having to involve a young one here. And also, just as a boy child as well, need to ensure that we instill all of these issues around using protection, around ensuring that at least also as they go about the activities as well, they do it in a responsible manner, looking at all of these implications that lie ahead when one is a teenage, parent, you're a child and you are with child. So that, it doesn't actually bode or sit well. It doesn't create a good picture at all. Diddy, I want us to leave it here. It's 3 o'clock. Our time is up. But how do people get hold of you, those that are listening to us, and they're like, hey, I would like to engage further with Daddy here and Dad's in the picture?
It's through our website, www.dadsinthepicture.co.za, or email us on info@dadsinthepicture.co.za. We are also on social media as Dads in the Picture.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Teddy. Have a blessed one.
Same to you, sir. Zibuse Kunene coming through from Dads in the Picture. You can also catch them at www.dadsinthepicture.co.za for further information and just check them out on their website as well.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.